So, our goal when designing a training program is to avoid overtraining and improve athletic performance. This goes hand in hand with the general adaptation syndrome. Yes, gas. First, during this gas model, an athlete will experience the alarm phase, which is when the initial training stimulus is first introduced. Next is the resistance phase, in which adaptation occurs and the athlete's system either returns to baseline or above baseline. Next is the supercompensation phase, in which a new level of performance capacity is achieved. And our whole goal with periodization is to constantly be going through this gas model and hitting supercompensation and avoiding overtraining. Again, trying to avoid the overtraining phase where the stressors are too high for too long. So, periodization is broken down into cycles and then further broken down into seasons, which was briefly discussed a little bit earlier during our resistance training lecture. So our entire year or several months of training would be what we call a macro cycle. Again, macro, large scale. A mesocycle, which is one step lower, would be roughly 2 to 6 weeks of training, and a microcycle would be several days to 2 weeks. These cycles should undulate. Undulate meaning within a week there are large daily fluctuations in load and volume of assigned core resistance training exercises, which those core resistance training exercises we talked about during our resistance training lecture. So as we look at figure 21.5, hopefully you have a book. If not, here's the picture. We can see how a whole year training program is broken down into a preparatory period or off season, the first transition or preseason, yes, the figure is incorrect, the competition or in-season phase, and lastly, active recovery. Our goal with the preparatory period is hypertrophy and basic strength. And we saw figure 21.5 put these phases in different mesocycle boxes. So for the hypertrophy phase, we're going to have the athlete perform roughly 2 to 6 sets, roughly 50 to 75% of intensity for about 6 to 12 reps. Usually you want to be a little bit higher on the intensity scale, but again, these are just ranges that you can work with. For the basic strength phases, the athlete will perform 2 to 6 sets at about 80 to 95% intensity for less than or equal to 6 reps. Again, strength, if you're going to be strong, you have to lift something heavy. If you're going to lift something heavy, you can't lift it for as many reps. Okay? So, now as we move on to the first transition or preseason, our main goal now becomes strength and power. So we'll have the athlete perform roughly 2 to 5 sets at 87 to 95% intensity, or 30 to 85% for power exercises like the clean, snatch, and so on, for about 2 to 5 reps. Remember, these do not include warm-up sets, and these reps and intensities are for power and core exercises. The assistance exercises, say like the bicep curl, knee extension, should be performed for roughly 6 to 12 reps because we're not going to have someone do, 2 bicep curls. Yes, it's been seen, but we're not going to have them do that. So, as we enter now into the competition phase or in-season phase, we can either be focusing on maintenance or peaking, where either way, remember this, the intensity is high. Notice, for peaking, the athlete performs 1 to 3 sets between 50 and greater than 93%. So there's a large range. But again, the intensity can be very high for 1 to 3 reps. For maintenance, the athlete will perform roughly 2 to 5 sets at 85 to 93% intensity for 3 to 6 reps. I'm a big fan of peaking, as we may have one day of high intensity and recover at a low intensity, meaning larger fluctuations in intensity, but allows the athlete to get stronger during season as well as have optimal recovery. As you can notice, the intensity is high. Let me repeat. The intensity is high in season and the volume is low because the athlete should be spending a lot of time on the field and not as much in the weight room. please, 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 please do not have your athlete in season performing sets of 12 to 15 squats at a light weight, because now your athlete's just getting weaker and you're decreasing their performance. Please stick with these intensities and these reps. So, the last phase, the second transition or active recovery. All the athlete has to do is take a break and just be active, and there's very little resistance training involved. Now you guys are set, ready to design a strength and conditioning program.